Hi, this is Andy from GPS Training. In this video, we're taking a look at the brand new Garmin GPSMAP67 and 67i units. This is an unboxing video where we're just going to look at some of the changes and differences from the 66 units that these have now replaced. So it's not a full technical spec on the actual units. You will find full technical details on our gpstraining.co.uk website under the GPS store and handheld devices, but we are going to cover some of the new features and things that have changed in this new range. So I'm going to take them out the boxes first. Now they're actually both look physically the same dimensions, etc. It's just that the i version, the one that has the inReach feature where we can do the satellite messaging, and SOS has the SOS button. So I'll actually just take that one out the box because we get exactly the same in the boxes and they look the same in essence other than the SOS button, and then we'll go through the differences when we compare them to the models that we had out before in the 66 range. So I'm just going to move the 67 out the way for the moment, and we'll just open up the 67i box. So you will get exactly the same in the boxes other than obviously the i version has the SOS button. So Garmin manuals as normal. So we've got the Garmin 67i Quick Start manual. It normally just gives you a brief introduction to the unit and what the buttons do. Remember, from GPS Training you do get our full sort of online course videos. We'll be doing new videos in the coming weeks for the 67 and 67i units that cover all the new features, so you will get access to those videos once we've done them for a year if you purchase from GPS Training. But you have got the Garmin Quick Start manual and just some important safety and product information. So I'm just going to turn the cardboard box around and we'll take out the unit. So we'll look at what accessories we get first. So as per the 66 units, we get the carabiner clip, so that'll slide on the back of the unit on the spine adapter on the back, so it's the black carabiner clip. Now this is one of the first changes. I already knew this from looking at the specs. It's actually a USB-C cable we now get, so that is the charging cable and the data cable. You don't get a charging plug, you just use your standard mobile phone plug or a USB plug for charging, but we've got USB-C now, which I do find is easier to use. I know with USB-C, of course, you can put that in either way around on the back of a unit rather than the predecessor, which was the USB micro connection. So we've got USB-C now. That's the first change. I'm just going to take the unit out. We're very familiar with the 66 range. Actually, when you look at this unit, it actually looks the same. It's the same dimensions. It's the same 3-inch screen across the diagonal. Weight's 230 grams on the non-i version, and the i version slightly heavier at 241 grams. But it's basically the same look and feel as the 66 range. Nothing's changed there. We have the built-in battery on the back, the USB-C connection. We've still got a lanyard slot at the bottom, buttons all marked, again same layout as the ones that we had on the 66 range. If you do get the i version, that's the one with the SOS button where you do the Iridium satellite messaging, SOS, etc. Subscriptions do apply for that. So we've got the little flap we lift for the SOS button. If you're not using the Iridium side of things and you don't activate it, you can still use the device as you would a 67 as a handheld GPS. But if you do activate it and pay the subscriptions, you've got the beauty of, if you've got no mobile signal, you've got the SOS button. We can send text messages to friends and family, and they can also track you using satellite. So I'm just going to run through some of the changes and what I'd say are the big ones when we look at this compared to the 66 range that we had before. So before we had in the 66 range, we had a 66S that we still do for someone who wants a unit with AA batteries. So 66S with 2 AA batteries. We still have the 66Is, which is built-in battery and inReach. It's a lower price than the new version, but we still have those as a current product. It's the 66SR that we don't have anymore, that really we would look at the 67 as being that replacement, i.e. you don't have the inReach function, but you have a unit with a built-in battery. So the first thing I'm going to talk about when I say battery, that's the really big change for us. As far as we can see, because the size and weight's the same, the battery I don't think has increased in capacity, even though I haven't got that information from Garmin. I think it's the clever way they've changed the way the electronics of the device draw power from the battery, and that's how we're getting this increased battery. So I'll just give you an idea of a figure of the predecessor. So if we looked at a 66SR, or even the I version, using it without any tracking, just with GPS and using it generally as a handheld unit for navigation, we could potentially, depending on climate conditions, how many times you bring the screen on, etc., get up to around 35 hours battery life. Where that's changed, this is a massive change, we think, 180 hours with the 67 using GPS only, and 165 with the I version. Now with the I version, they do quote that includes 10-minute tracking, so if you have got friends and family tracking where you are, excuse me, using the inReach function, 165 hours, so just a bit less than the 180 hours of the 67. We have this expedition mode where you don't record as many track points, so it's not an accurate track recording, but it's great if you just need to track back on certain points when you're on a long trip and you haven't got places to charge. You can get a whopping 840 hours using it in expedition mode on the 67, 425 hours on the 67i. But bear in mind, the reason that's a lot less on the I, that's taking into account that you may be tracking not just for yourself to record on the unit, but friends and family actually tracking you using the Iridium satellite system. So that is a really big increase on battery life, so we're really impressed with that. So that's the first big change. USB-C is the other change, the USB-C connection. So really that's the two main changes. But while we're looking at the 67i unit, what's changed here? This is quite a big change for those of you who use the I version and want the version with the inReach subscription for the SOS and the two-way satellite messaging. We now have multi-band and dual frequency. So before, on the 66i, I suppose we had multi-band means picking up more than one set of satellites. So on the 66i, we could pick up GPS and Galileo. So on the new 67i, we've still got multi-band, but it's actually got a new satellite thrown in. So if you've purchased a European version of the unit, you're getting GPS, Galileo, and Beidou. So that makes it multi-band. The 67, the non-I version, still actually has GLONASS, so it's got 4 satellites in the multi-band. We've got GPS, Galileo, Beidou, but we've also got GLONASS. But the big change for us is dual frequency. What does dual frequency mean? So we had that on the SR unit, but we didn't have it on the 66i. So both of these units, 67i and 67, now have dual frequency. So it's really the 67i that didn't have that before on the 66i. Dual frequency means it takes a number of different signals from the GPS and the Galileo satellites, and it looks for inaccuracies maybe due to a signal bouncing off a building or a cliff. So it looks for what I think that they tend to describe it technically as timing irregularities, where it'll take one reading and suddenly a second signal coming from, it's the L5 and E5 signal. I think it's a higher bandwidth if I remember rightly, but basically it's taking two sets of signal from the same satellite, and if it sees something incorrect with the timing, maybe due to a building, it tries to correct that with the computer algorithms and just improves the accuracy when you're in a more challenging environment like tree coverage, high buildings, high cliffs. So in a nutshell, we know before we had that on the 66SR, so we've now got, obviously the 67 still has that, but on the I version we've now got that dual frequency, and it has added in an extra satellite as in Beidou, and with the 67 we've now got the Beidou as well added in as an extra satellite. So that's really the main changes. And one other thing we've noticed that may come to some of the other units like the 66i, we can't promise that, we're just hoping it might be an added on feature with firmware update. But what we've got on the 67i inReach version, if you do activate it and pay a subscription, when you've got no mobile signal, you can use satellites to send messages to friends and family. You can have friends and family track you with satellites, and you've got the SOS button to the emergency response centre. But what we had on another unit that Garmin brought out last year called the inReach Messenger, it allowed the unit, if you had mobile signal, it would actually, using the same app that we use for sending the satellite messages, so it's seamless with the interaction. You don't have friends and family 1 minute having to text you on your normal mobile phone and then the Garmin app. You just get them to use the Garmin app when you're in the hills. If you suddenly have mobile signal, you receive the messages that way and send them that way. You suddenly don't have mobile signal, it does it via satellites. What's the advantage of that? It keeps your subscription messages down, because when you pay for these subscriptions, you only get so many satellite messages. So a lot of the time, we maybe do have mobile data, so we don't need to send it via satellite. So it's got that nice interaction between that. We've also got that on the 67i now. It will work with the Messenger app that Garmin have that allows the unit to be able to send messages either via mobile data when you've got it, or via satellite. What we really like about that, if you think you've given your friends and family the app, the messaging using the app, because they know you're in the hills and you've got limited mobile data, suddenly you come into your accommodation at a night time, so your unit hasn't got satellite signal now because you're inside a building, or you've turned it off. If a friend or family still sends you a message using the Garmin app, because they don't know that you're necessarily in your accommodation now, you will still get that message through. It's very clever the way it links. So that's nice that we've now got that on the 67i, the same as we had on the Messenger device. The only other thing I noticed as I went through the menus, we have a new menu, some Outdoor Plus maps in the map menu. That's to do with mapping that we can only get in America at the moment, where you can pay a subscription and get detailed maps on your unit for a year, and then you pay another subscription. Whether that'll come to the UK in the future, I don't know. But at the moment, the maps we sell with the unit, both the units come preloaded with Garmin's TopoActive European maps for free, with free updates. And then we sell the units at GPS Training, where you can buy an Ordnance Survey map card, either the 1 to 50 map card or the 1 to 25 map card. That's yours to keep for life. It's a card that just goes in the side of the unit. So on the side of the unit, the same as the previous units, we've got the flap where the micro SD card goes. And I showed you on the back, we've got the flap for the USB-C connection. Both of the units have the flashlight on the back. SOS button we only get on the I version. And both the units, as per the 66 versions, have got the little lanyard slot that goes on the bottom. And if I turn the unit on, you'll notice it'll just be the same as the 66 units we had before. So it's got the 3-inch screen, sunlight readable. Both of the units are IPX7. And like any of these handheld units now that we sell, the higher end units, we've got what we call the ABC, the altimeter, the barometric pressure reading, and C for electronic compass. So when you're standing still, the map will still orientate in the direction that you want to go in. And when we've looked at the online on the manual, I know this is the first time of unboxing one, but all the menus look the same as what we had before on the 66. So we've got the page button that scrolls between the different shortcuts like the map, the compass. You won't get messages if you haven't got the InReach version. So I'm on the compass screen there. Main menu by pressing the menu button twice. Most of this, to be honest, again, this is just us. I've looked at the manual already. Looks the same as what we're used to. I did notice in the manual it mentioned this new function, add page. So previously, if you wanted to change the layout on the main menu from memory, you pressed the menu button and then you had to scroll up to something that said add page. They've actually got an add page there now, where we can then add applications to the main menu if you want to add extra things in there. Quit button still lets the ribbon go the opposite way. And I'm assuming if we press the on-off button once, it'll be the same as the predecessor, where we've got the backlight setting. We can lock keys to stop accidental button presses. It'll link to Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, so this one will pair with the Garmin Explore app and Garmin Connect, which we can use for sending routes to the unit and syncing data so you can see activities that you've done. We mentioned the new Messenger app, so this is just for the InReach version, where it uses the new singular Messenger app, so that it interfaces with messages when you've got mobile data. So we know the I version does that. On-off button again, we've got the same option where we can go into our activity recordings and start, etc. So really it's the same functions that we had on the 66 range. So if I just go through the big changes again, it's got to be battery life first. We've got that whopping 180 hours battery on the 67 and 165 hours on the 67i when it's doing 10-minute tracking. That's using GPS only, so if you do have the multi-band turned on, that will reduce slightly. Other big change is the USB-C cable, so it's a USB-C cable now. Remember, the I version now has dual frequency, so it picks up the L5 and E5 signals for better accuracy. when you're in a more challenging environment. And we've now added on Beidou satellites to both of the units. So the 67i using multi-band is picking up GPS, Galileo and Beidou when you buy the European model, and the 67's picking up GPS, Galileo, GLONASS and Beidou. IPX7, so tough weatherproof unit, button control, so you're not worried about if the screen's got water, rain, snow on it. All the same sort of things we're used to with the Great 66 range. These are all on our GPS training store, gpstraining.co.uk, GPS store, handheld devices. Under the two-way communicators, you'll find the 67i. If you buy a unit from us, you get the online email and telephone support from a year and the online course with all the videos. At the moment, customers are using our 66 videos. As we've noticed, most things are the same, but we are going to be refreshing the online resource in the coming months, and you will start seeing new videos added for the 67 version. Now, one thing I hadn't realised, I haven't tested this myself yet, so when we do the videos, if it's there, we'll show you. A customer messaged me the other day and they just received their new 67. We started shipping them out as soon as we got them in stock, and they noticed when they were using Garmin Express on a computer to check for map updates, rather than just getting the option for the topo active European maps, there was options for maps in other parts of the world from Garmin. I'll need to test that because I hadn't seen that in any of the spec that you could do that. That will be great if you can download free maps for other countries as well from the Garmin topo active maps, but I think we need to wait until we test that and check. But a customer did message me the other day and say they'd noticed that. So I hope you found this video useful, just on an initial unboxing, just to give you our thoughts on the new changes, increased battery life, etc. And thanks for watching.